What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be talking about the XRP price chart, as we had a little bit of a pop in the price last night, with XRP rising up about 8%, coming off of a decision by Judge Torres denying the SEC's motion to seal the Hinman documents. XRP community got quite excited, and there was even a Twitter Spaces that was hosted by XRPP, or XRP The Standard Productions, who did a phenomenal job with John Deaton. I also participated in this and had the opportunity to speak with John Deaton last night, so we'll dive into that a little bit more here in just a minute, as the community is obviously incredibly excited to hear that the SEC's motion to seal certain parts of the Hinman documents has been denied. But at the same time, Ripple also got denied many things as well for them to seal, and we will get to see a lot of the dirt on Ripple as well. But excitement took over, prices moved up. I saw tweets over there on Twitter, people tagging me and saying, I just bought, I'm in, BC Backer, let's go. And I'm just like, why? Because prices were then up, right? Prices were then back up into the 46s. A big green candle will always bring people back in to buy the market. But before we kind of talk more about what's going on in that order and kind of the discussions that took place there with John Deaton and expectations, I'm just kind of looking at the price chart behavior and saying, is it acting out of the norm? Is it acting unusual? Is it doing any type of breakout that's happening in here? My argument would be that no, it's not. You know, the thing to kind of remember in these trends and just this behavior is that you can have these big moves up and then they can pull right back down, right? Big moves up and then they can pull right back down. And just that's also what we typically see in this price behavior as well. So I don't think we're out of the clear yet. The things that we have been looking at have been like over here on the daily time frame that we have found some support here on top of the 200-day moving average, which is why I said I took a nibble at this market, or I took a nibble at XRP last week. However, still having to be mindful that this is still typical price behavior, is kind of washing machine stuff happening in here right now. I get it. That's not the news probably everybody wants to hear, but I do think a lot of people were excited that this thing is over. We're going to have a result soon. And while it does look like we're one step closer, we still don't have that result and we still don't know what it will be. In addition, to remember that the broader trend is still intact. We're still tied to Bitcoin, and just that patience is still in the cards right now. Probably talked about this in 20 different live streams and 5 or 10 different videos, so I won't regurgitate it again. But still, seems like there would be some type of a capitulative move to happen in here for Bitcoin before we can start ramping ourselves back up, and so we can close out that volume profile in here, where there's been really no trading volume that has taken place in this area throughout the history of Bitcoin. Just complete empty gaps in here of no trading. But one thing is nice is that we can see that some of that gap has started to get filled in here with the trading that we have been doing, but there's still more to go. So just kind of keeping that in mind right now. Like I've said in previous videos, I'm definitely actively looking for a bottom here in XRP. For those who follow the channel closely, you know, it's really rare that I say, hey, you know, I think we're going to break out here and we're going to do it within like 24 hours. We're going to do it within 48 hours. I said it last week that I was like, hey, I think within 48 hours, we're going to see something actually end up happening in here, a bigger move, just because we were set up for something like that to happen. And then when we were down here at these lows, I said within 24 hours, I'd expect that we'd see a plus $2,500 daily candle over there for Bitcoin. While things could happen and things could surprise me and we could shoot to the upside, I'm not sitting here with like that type of thought process right now with XRP. So I know there's a lot of excitement out there. I'm just going to kind of tame it down a little bit to say that, you know, in this circumstance, we'd still have more trending to go. It would make more sense with Bitcoin having to work back down into these lows and close the volume profiles. And that even if we aren't doing that, even if this low is going to end up holding right in here, well, just remember what it was like last time when we were finding support on top of the 200-day moving average back in the 22.5-cent days back in 2020. That if we are going to find some support on here, be more likely to just kind of really start to feel that support as the 200 starts to kind of work its way up and become a support. And that I just don't see anything structurally in here to say, hey, we're going to moon. I think that, you know, that counter argument that I'll always get, like if I'm in a Twitter Spaces or, you know, when we look at the comments or the tweets responses, is that, yeah, but what if the response comes out from the SEC case, right? Does that change what your thoughts are? But that's still just like, I think I've gotten that question for over 2 years now, right? And it's still just like, Judge Torres is like Fred Rispoli said, Judge Torres is just waiting for the 702 fib to come, and then we'll get the response, right? You always hear the term, right? Show me a chart and I'll tell you the news. I'm a firm believer in that. It almost makes me a little bit crazy. It's such a cliche thing to say, show me the chart and I'll tell you the news. You've all heard it repeated 1,000 times, but it's not until you live and breathe in the charts for so long that finally a pivotal moment will happen. A setup will be complete. It'll be ready to go. You get something like this, right? You get big accumulation, you'll get back to the 702 retracement, and then it's a moment like this where like the case comes to a conclusion. I'm not saying that's what will happen, but that's how in sync real life events are with charts. Maybe it's early players already knowing what's going to happen. They go ahead and start accumulating heavily. They stop suppressing the price. They let off of it. They know the results coming. We get back here and then boom, everybody finds out together. But either way, just with where we're at right now, kind of keeping that in mind. Exciting for sure to have some positive developments, at least when it comes to the Hinman emails. But, that we're still just kind of waddling along in here. And I was saying to myself, dang it, blockchain backer. You're taking the fun out of it, man. But, that's what it is. It's not designed to be fun. Dealing with charts and figuring out price action and figuring out when I'm going to place my buys, it's not about fun. It's usually very hard. It's when people are incredibly excited. That's usually the time to sell. And when people are incredibly pessimistic and toxic and fearful and everybody is screaming that we're going to go lower, that's historically been the better time to buy. And so when I look at this, I say, oh, is this actually great news that's happening in here? Well, the discussion with John Deaton last night would actually say it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Our eyes immediately gravitate to the fact that the SEC cannot hide what is in the Hinman emails. What did they talk about when it comes to Ethereum? What did they talk about when it comes to XRP? When Bill Hinman was having his speech drafted back in the summer of 2019, did the SEC think XRP was a security then? Did they not think it was a security back then? We're going to get to find out. But there's more to it than the denial of the SEC's motion to seal the Hinman documents. This is an 18-page order in here, and if it was just about sealing the Hinman documents, you would think that it wouldn't have to be 18 pages long. But you can see here in the conclusion, the SEC's motion to seal is denied as to the Hinman speech documents and granted as to the remainder of its requests. And then the defendant's motion, or Ripple's motion to seal, is denied as to references linking Ripple's revenues with XRP sales, the amount of compensation that Ripple offered to trading platforms to list XRP, and the amount of Ripple's XRP sales targeted at investors through programmatic and institutional sales, and as to the names GSR, Bitstamp, Coil Technologies Inc., the XRP Ledger Foundation, and the platforms that publicly make XRP available for trading, and granted as to the remainder of the requests. So yes, the SEC was denied on the Hinman documents, but granted on the remainder, and Ripple was denied on a plethora of things that we're now going to get to find out. How much money does Ripple make from selling XRP? How much did Ripple pay trading platforms to list XRP so that retail investors could trade it? How much of the XRP was targeted at investors through programmatic and institutional sales? We're going to find out how much money does Ripple make by selling XRP and how are they doing it? Paying exchanges to list XRP for it to get into retail investors' hands? Maybe targeting those investors through programmatic and institutional sales, such as discounts to one company, and then that company going and selling it to retail, kind of like a loophole of being like, hey, I'm not really selling it to retail, I'm selling it to this institution for 20% discount, and then that institution sells it to retail. Getting kind of those details in there to say, okay, how dirty was it? I remember when this case originally started back in December of 2020, when I learned of this stuff right in here, that Brad had potentially made, hundreds of millions of dollars by selling XRP, and the potential that Ripple was offering XRP at a discount to institutions, and then those institutions were selling it to retail. That infuriated me. And when that happened, barely any content creators would even touch that aspect of this case. It became this complete discussion about everything except that. But what this is definitely telling us is that we're going to get the dirty laundry in here. And so while everybody's really focused on the denial of the Hinman speech documents, well, the SEC was granted everything else, and Ripple's going to have to really disclose in here, and they can't seal it. All that stuff going on in regards to selling it to institutions at a discount, paying off exchanges and trying to get XRP listed on exchanges, which is where retail traders are. and getting to see how much money does Ripple make from XRP sales and figuring out, all right, they made $1 billion or whatever it is, right? I don't think it's a billion, but maybe it is. What was the strategy on that? Was it get third parties, institutions, sell them XRP at a 25% discount, and then those guys go and dump the XRP on retail investors? Then will people start getting mad and saying, well, why was it that price always felt like it had a beach ball on top of it during all of 2018, 2019, and 2020? While you had Bitcoin doing this kind of thing like this, you had Ethereum doing this stuff, you have Litecoin doing this stuff. Why was XRP held down like a beach ball the whole time? Are we going to find out it's because there was so much sell pressure on the upside because institutions were not having to pay 48 cents per XRP, they were able to pay 36 cents per XRP, and all they had to do was buy it off of Ripple at 36 and then go to the exchange and sell it at 48. It was an arbitrage play and just easy to keep price oppressed. We don't know. That's just something I'm pulling out of my backside. But I think a lot of us got to kind of be prepared that this is the kind of information that they got denied. They're not going to be able to hide that. It's coming out. And so let me just play like 2.5 minutes of this conversation when I asked John Deaton a follow-up question on his thoughts after reading this. One last follow-up, and then I'll shush up for here for just a minute. So, John, yes, and I totally agree with you. And I've just been I so admire what you've done. It's been more about looking out for XRP. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how to read this stuff. I think but my thoughts are when this stuff comes out, we're going to get all the dirt. We're going to find out how much Brad Garlinghouse made off of this. We're going to find out how much Ripple does or little businesses and how it all happens and how this XRP gets to market, how much they discount it, all that stuff. And it's probably not going to paint a very pretty picture. But in the end, the thing that we only really care about truly is just the secondary sales. And that's what you've been standing for. That's what we care about. I really appreciate it. When you read this and you see how she is talking right in here, does that sway your confidence a little bit more that this probably is going to be a mixed ruling? Do you feel more confident it's going to be a mixed ruling, that when this thing comes out, it is not going to be clear as day, everybody's looking for victory, we all win? It is likely going to be, there are periods of times where Ripple was treating this as a security. Yeah. Like it's not going to be clear. It's going to, you think they're going to get hit with a portion of it was a security?
It's a great question, because what I said is, and I still feel this way, I said that if one side was going to get a complete victory, I said that it should be Ripple. Because of the SEC, every token sell the past, present, future, even if a country overseas in the future designates it as legal tender, it's only because of Ripple, it's still an investment contract. They went with that insane freaking theory, and I said, so if one side's going to get a complete victory, it would be Ripple, because I can't see her adopting that insane theory. But I also said I haven't seen the evidence, like the that's been sealed, and so and I didn't see a lot of it in the brief of the summary judgment by the SEC. But again, some of it's sealed. So, for example, when she says that this payment to third parties to list XRP, like there could be specific transaction evidence that she can hang her hat on. So I'm confident that we're probably looking at, I think the chances of Ripple getting a complete victory are much slimmer after reading this than I felt before. I still don't think the SEC is getting a complete victory either. So I think your instinct as a non-lawyer, which is sometimes the better instinct, quite frankly, blockchain backer, that is, you're right.
Thank you, John. So really the thing I'm just getting at by all of this, after reading portions of this document, seeing what people like Fred Rispoli have to say, what John Deaton has to say, is that it seems pretty clear that Judge Torres probably does know how she is going to rule in all of this. There's a chance a summary judgment is even already written, or at least in proof phase. And that while we're all focused on the fact that the Hinman documents are going to be released, and Judge Torres denies the SEC's motion to seal the Hinman documents, Brad Garlinghouse saying another win for transparency, unredacted Hinman emails to be publicly available soon. Stay tuned as the lawyers work through the mechanics to make that happen. The reality is the interpretation of everything else in there, when we turn our head away from the exciting fact that we're going to see the Hinman documents and you look at everything else that happened in there, it seems like the odds of some sweeping big victory for Ripple and for clarity on secondary sales, that the odds of that successful outcome have actually come down because everybody is focusing on the SEC getting denied in regards to sealing the Hinman speech documents. But the focus really, when it comes to, well, how does this impact the outcome? This doesn't really impact the outcome. This is just what we want to see. We just want to have the dirt spilled on the SEC, right? It doesn't change anything. But this is the thing that is more pertaining to the actual case, to Ripple's treatment of XRP as a security, how relevant it is to the Howey analysis. So that'll be really it that we talk about this on this channel. I know we don't really cover a lot of stuff when venturing beyond the actual charts, but we did see price action happen yesterday, and it happened shortly after that was released, and prices now since started to pull back. We'll keep an eye on it if that 200-day moving average can continue to maintain support, and if that was good enough. There's a mixed view on how soon we could actually see those Hinman documents. Some people say as soon as today. Some say they have weeks to be able to appeal. Hopefully we get more information on that process today in regards to the Hinman emails. And while it is pretty much consensus out there that there's not going to be a settlement in this case, well, we've now reached the phase where the Hinman documents have to be produced, and the things that the SEC wants to hide in those documents cannot be hidden. So who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky. Otherwise, I just sit there with my expectations kind of in check, saying, hey, this is a lot of chess going on behind the scenes. It's hard for me to truly know. And when we talk to the experts, they also at the same time are doing their best with the information that's at hand, knowing that there is stuff that is still sealed right now that we haven't seen. We don't know all the things that are sealed, so we don't have all the facts. And so for me to come on here and make the educated guess on what will happen with all that stuff in the court, that's out of my realm. That's not in my lane, right? If I'm going to stay in my lane is more of to look at this kind of stuff. And my response would be that while we saw price action happen here on XRP yesterday after that news, just kind of knowing that we do see this type of volatility that happens in these types of things, and it's not out of the norm of behavior. If price starts going significantly higher, then we'll have some things to kind of talk about. But I do know when price moves up quickly, and if there's news and it's perceived to be as really good news, people will kind of FOMO. Our job is not to come in here and smash people's FOMO, but to paint the realistic picture. And the realistic picture is, hey, we're still just kind of trending in this thing. And while we're all excited to see the Hinman details, there's a lot of other stuff in that document at the same time. So we kind of just need to be sitting back patiently, waiting to see what the outcome is, and hopefully more information can come out, and hopefully that information is good. Otherwise, I sit patiently waiting on XRP. I sit patiently waiting over here on Bitcoin. None of the information in this document surprises me. If you follow this channel, I've known this stuff all along. I don't hide it on my view about it when it comes to discounted sales of XRP, when it comes to all that stuff, right? My focus is XRP. If Ripple is going to do a good thing, hey, that's great. Let's go Ripple. But, I'm not like a Ripple fanboy. I'm not here to wish malicious harm on Ripple in any way. There's a chance that Ripple could be helpful to XRP. So I don't want that. But at the end of the day, I'm here for this digital asset. I'm here to be able to use this digital asset. And I need the SEC to back off. That's what I'm cheering for. And ultimately, I believe the right thing will happen. I don't know what the outcome for Ripple will be. That's going to be Ripple's thing that they have to deal with. But when it comes to XRP, when it comes to a digital asset, it's not a security. There's a chance Ripple has treated it as a security in the past, but it doesn't make the underlying asset a security. Just like in Howey, the oranges themselves are not securities. It's just how they were treated. And that's what the big debate is in the court. And unfortunately, the SEC stepped beyond their scope and went overbroad. And we've gotten caught in the crossfire in here. But ultimately, I believe we will come out the other side and all rights will be wronged. And ultimately, show me a chart and I'll tell you the news. And the chart says the same story. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. We saw a price pop over there on XRP. Happened right after the release of that document from Judge Torres denying the SEC's motion to seal parts of the Hinman documents. The price move that we saw in XRP was not beyond the scope of what we typically see in these structures and these accumulations and these pullbacks. Should things get carried away more to the upside, we'll have things to talk about. But as of currently right now, it's all right within range of where it should be. We'll keep our eyes over there on Bitcoin and on XRP, and I'll check in with you guys again soon. But all right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers, got your back. Have a good one.